Imagine, if you will, a game of chess. When a player wins, we say they are victorious. But what has really happened? Has the universe somehow rewarded them? Has their essential nature been altered? No, of course not. The game simply ended in a particular configuration of pieces on the board. The so-called victory is nothing more than an agreed-upon interpretation of that configuration. So when we speak of acting like you are already winning, we are not talking about some sort of constant state of triumph over others or circumstances. Rather, we are discussing a fundamental shift in perception, a radical reorientation of consciousness that allows you to move through life with an unshakable sense of inner success and fulfillment. But how does one achieve such a state? It begins with understanding that you, the essential you, the awareness that perceives and experiences, are already complete, already whole, already winning in the deepest sense. You are not your achievements, which can be surpassed. You are not your possessions, which can be lost. You are not even your thoughts or emotions, which can fluctuate wildly. You are the unchanging consciousness that witnesses all these things, the backdrop against which the drama of life unfolds. Consider for a moment the nature of your own awareness. Can you find its beginning or end? Can you locate where it resides within you? Of course not. Your consciousness is boundless, limitless. It is the space in which all experiences occur. And just as space cannot be improved or diminished by the objects moving through it, your essential nature cannot be made more or less winning by the events unfolding within it. Now, I can almost hear some of you thinking, but Alan, that's all well and good in theory, but what about the real world? What about when I'm struggling to pay my bills, or I've just been dumped? Or I'm facing a serious health crisis? And to that, I say exactly. These are precisely the situations in which this understanding becomes not just useful, but crucial. You see, when you act like you are already winning, you're not denying the reality of challenging situations. You're not pretending that difficult experiences don't exist. Instead, you're recognizing that these experiences, no matter how intense, are temporary phenomena arising within the vast field of your consciousness. They are like waves on the surface of the ocean. They may be turbulent, they may be powerful, but they are not the ocean itself. Let's explore this ocean metaphor a bit further, shall we? Imagine you are swimming in the depths of the sea. On the surface, there might be a raging storm with towering waves and howling winds. But down in the depths where you are, all is calm and peaceful. The chaos on the surface doesn't reach you. This is precisely how it is when you learn to identify with your deepest self, your true nature as boundless awareness. The storms of life may rage, but they cannot touch your essential being. Now, some of you might be thinking, that's all very poetic, Alan. But how does this help me in my day-to-day life? Well, my friends, it helps in every conceivable way. When you truly understand and embody this truth, it fundamentally changes how you approach every situation, every challenge or action. Think about it. If you know at the core of your being that you are already winning in the deepest sense, how differently would you approach life? Would you hesitate to pursue your dreams for fear of failure? Would you hold back from expressing your true self for fear of rejection? Would you cower in the face of adversity, believing it could crush you? Of course not. Now, when you act like you are already winning, you become like a mountain. The winds of circumstance may howl around you, storms may batter your slopes, but you remain unmoved, unshaken at your foundation. This doesn't mean you don't respond to the world around you, of course you do, but your responses come from a place of inner abundance and strength, rather than from scarcity or fear. Let's consider a practical example. Imagine you're in a job interview for a position you really want. If you're coming from a place of lack, of feeling like you need to win this job to be successful, you might be nervous, desperate to impress, afraid of making a mistake. But if you're acting like you're already winning, how different would your approach be? You'd be calm, confident, fully present. You'd share your skills and experiences not from a place of needing to prove yourself, but from a genuine desire to contribute. You'd be as interested in whether the job is right for you as whether you're right for the job. This shift in perspective doesn't just change how you feel, it changes how you're perceived by others. When you act like you're already winning, you radiate a quiet confidence, an inner poise that others can sense. This doesn't mean being arrogant or boastful, quite the opposite. True confidence is humble, because it doesn't need to prove anything. But let's push this idea even further. What about truly challenging situations? What about loss, grief, serious setbacks? Surely in these situations we can't act like we're winning, can we? Well, my friends, this is where the rubber really meets the road, so to speak. This is where this understanding becomes not just useful, but transformative. When you act like you're already winning, you develop a profound resilience in the face of life's greatest challenges. This doesn't mean you don't feel pain or sadness, of course you do. You're human, after all. But beneath the waves of emotion, there's a bedrock of unshakable peace, a knowledge that no matter what happens, your essential nature remains whole and complete. Think of it like this: you are the sky, and your experiences, good and bad, joyful and painful, are the weather. The weather can be turbulent, it can be severe, but it cannot defeat the sky. The sky simply is, vast and open, allowing all weather to pass through it. Now, I want to be clear about something. Acting like you're already winning isn't about becoming some sort of unfeeling automaton, immune to the ups and downs of human experience. Far from it. When you act like you're already winning, you actually become more fully alive, more deeply engaged with life. Why? because you're no longer held back by fear of losing. You see, most of us go through life in a state of constant low-grade anxiety, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of loss, fear of not being enough. And this fear constricts us, limits us, prevents us from fully embracing the richness of existence. But when you know, truly know, that you're already winning in the deepest sense, this fear loses its grip. You become free to live boldly, to love deeply, to create fearlessly. Imagine living your life from this place of unshakable inner success. How would you approach your relationships? You might love more freely, more openly, knowing that your worth doesn't depend on whether someone else chooses to be with you. How would you pursue your passions? You might take more risks, push more boundaries, knowing that your value isn't determined by external achievements. But here's the really interesting part. When you act like you're already winning, you paradoxically become much more likely to achieve external success as well. You see, most of our limitations are self-imposed. We hold ourselves back through our fears, our doubts, our belief that we're not good enough. When you remove these internal obstacles, you unleash your full potential. Think of it like a sports team. The teams that perform best aren't those that are desperately trying to win, tensed up with anxiety about losing. The best performances come when a team is relaxed, confident, in the flow, when they're playing as if they've already won. This is how you become when you act like you're already winning. You move through life with a kind of effortless grace, responding to each situation from a place of inner abundance and strength. Now, some of you might be wondering, but Alan, isn't this just a form of self-delusion? Aren't we just fooling ourselves? And to that, I say, is it self-delusion to recognize your true nature? Is it fooling yourself to understand the fundamental nature of consciousness? Not at all. In fact, it's the opposite. Most of us go through life deluded, identifying with our temporary thoughts and feelings, believing our worth is determined by external circumstances. The realization that we are already whole, already complete, already winning in the deepest sense, this is not delusion. This is awakening to reality. But let's be clear, this isn't something you can just intellectually agree with and be done. It's not enough to nod your head and say, yes, that makes sense. This is something you must experience, something you must live. It requires practice, dedication, and a willingness to question your most fundamental assumptions about who and what you are. So how does one begin this practice? It starts with awareness. Begin to notice how often you feel like you're losing, like you're not enough. Notice the thoughts and beliefs that underlie these feelings. Are they really true, or are they just habitual patterns of thinking you've absorbed from your culture, your upbringing, your past experiences? As you cultivate this awareness, you'll start to see something interesting. You'll notice how much of your life is driven by a sense of lack, a feeling that you need to prove yourself, to achieve something, to become something in order to be worthy. And you'll begin to see how unnecessary this struggle is. You'll realize that what you've been seeking, a sense of wholeness, of success, of winning, has been within you all along. This realization is profoundly liberating. It's like you've been carrying a heavy backpack your whole life, and suddenly you realize you can put it down. The weight of constantly trying to win, to prove yourself, to be good enough, simply falls away. And in its place comes a lightness, a sense of freedom and possibility. But remember, this is not about becoming passive or detached from life. It's not about saying, I'm already winning, so why bother doing anything? Quite the opposite. When you act like you're already winning, you become free to engage with life more fully, more passionately than ever before. Think about it. If you knew you were already successful in the deepest sense, what would you attempt? What dreams would you pursue? What truths would you speak? What love would you dare to express? Acting like you're already winning doesn't make you withdraw from life. It empowers you to dive in headfirst, to embrace all of it, the joy and the sorrow, the triumphs and the challenges. Now, I can almost hear some of you thinking, but Alan, what about actual, tangible failures? What about when I lose a competition, or fail an exam, or get rejected for a job? And to that, I say these are not failures unless you choose to see them as such. They are simply events, occurrences in the vast field of your experience. Whether they make you feel like a loser or not depends entirely on your interpretation, on the meaning you assign to them. Let's take the example of failing an exam. What actually happened? You took a test and your answers didn't match the expected responses. That's all. Any sense of failure comes not from the event itself, but from your interpretation of it. If you believe that your worth as a person is determined by your academic performance, then yes, you might feel like a loser. But if you recognize that you are the unchanging awareness in which this experience occurred, how can you be diminished by it? This shift in perspective doesn't mean you don't care about outcomes or that you don't try your best. Of course you do. But you do so from a place of inner abundance. Not from a desperate need to prove yourself or avoid failure. You give your all, and then you let go, knowing that whatever happens, your essential self remains whole and complete. This brings us to another crucial point. Acting like you're already winning isn't about becoming invulnerable or impervious to pain. It's about developing a different relationship with pain, with challenge, with difficulty. Instead of seeing these experiences as evidence that you're losing, you begin to see them as opportunities for growth, for deepening your understanding, for expanding consciousness. Think of it like this. When you work out at the gym, you deliberately put your muscles under stress. You lift weights that are challenging, that cause your muscles to strain and even to feel pain. But you don't see this as losing. You see it as the very process by which you become stronger. The same is true in life. When you act like you're already winning, you stop trying to avoid difficulty. Instead, you embrace it as the means by which you grow, by which you deepen your understanding of yourself and the world. This shift in perspective has profound implications for how you move through the world. When you're no longer afraid of losing, you become willing to take risks, to step out of your comfort zone, to speak your truth even when it's unpopular. You become, in a very real sense, unstoppable, not because you always succeed in conventional terms, but because you recognize that true success lies in fully embracing your experience, whatever it may be. Now, some of you might be thinking, this all sounds well and good, but how do I actually put it into practice? How do I learn to act like I'm already winning? Well, my friends, it begins with awareness. Start paying attention to how often you feel like you're losing in your daily life. Notice the small moments when someone criticizes you and you feel deflated, when you make a mistake and you berate yourself, when you compare yourself to others and come up short. In these moments, pause. Take a deep breath. Remind yourself, I am not this feeling, I am not this thought, I am the awareness in which these experiences are occurring. Feel the spaciousness of your consciousness. Notice how even in the midst of difficult emotions or challenging circumstances, there's a part of you that remains untouched, always whole, always winning in the deepest sense. As you practice this, you'll start to notice something interesting. You'll see how much of your sense of losing comes from your own thoughts, your own judgments. You'll realize that most of the time it's not the external circumstances that make you feel like a loser, it's your interpretation of those circumstances, your belief that they have the power to diminish you. This realization is incredibly empowering, because if your sense of winning or losing comes from your own mind, then you have the power to change it. You can choose to interpret events differently. You can choose to see challenges not as threats to your success, but as opportunities for growth and self-discovery. But let's be clear, this isn't about positive thinking or denying reality. It's not about telling yourself everything is great, when it clearly isn't. It's about recognizing a deeper truth that beneath the ever-changing surface of your experiences, there's an unchanging awareness that is always whole, always complete, always winning in the most profound sense. Think of it like watching a movie. When you're engrossed in a film, you might feel intense emotions, fear, sadness, joy. You might even forget for a moment that you're watching a movie. But at any point, you can step back and remember this is just a film. I am the viewer. In the same way, you can learn to step back from the drama of your life and remember these are just experiences. I am the awareness in which they occur. This perspective doesn't make you immune to life's challenges. You'll still face difficulties, still experience pain and loss, but you'll face these experiences from a place of inner abundance, knowing that no matter what happens, your essential self remains whole, complete, winning in the deepest sense. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you act like you're already winning, you actually become more compassionate to others. Why? Because you no longer see life as a competition to be won or lost. You no longer need to prove yourself or defend yourself. You're free to simply be, to engage with others openly and authentically, without fear of losing or being diminished. Imagine how this might transform your relationships. When you're not afraid of losing someone's approval, you can love more freely, more openly. When you're not constantly defending your ego, you can listen more deeply, empathize more fully. When you're not afraid of failure, you can collaborate more creatively, take more risks, innovate more boldly. This way of being ripples out into every area of your life. In your work, you become more confident, more willing to take on challenges, more resilient in the face of setbacks. In your personal growth, you become more willing to face your fears, to look honestly at your flaws and shortcomings. Because you know that acknowledging them can't diminish you, it can only help you grow. But perhaps most importantly, acting like you're already winning allows you to fully embrace the present moment. You see, most of our feelings of losing or not being enough are either about the past replaying old failures, old hurts, or about the future worrying about potential failures or rejections. But when you know that you're already whole and complete, you become free to fully inhabit the here and now. And it's in the present moment that life is truly lived. It's here now that we experience joy, love, creativity. It's here now that we connect with others, that we make a difference in the world. When you're no longer constrained by fear of losing or not being enough, you can give yourself fully to each moment, each experience, each interaction. Now I want to address something that might be coming up for some of you. You might be thinking, but Alan, isn't this perspective somewhat selfish? If I'm focused on my own sense of winning, am I not becoming self-centered? And to that, I say quite the opposite. You see, when you truly understand that you are already whole and complete, you also understand that this is true for everyone else as well. You recognize that beneath the surface appearances of separation and individuality, we are all expressions of the same boundless awareness. This recognition naturally gives rise to compassion, to a sense of connection with all beings. Think about it. If you know that you are at your core already winning, why would you need to compete with others? If you're not afraid of losing or being diminished, why would you need to diminish others? Acting like you're already winning doesn't separate you from others. It allows you to connect with them more deeply, more authentically than ever before. Moreover, when you're not constantly worried about proving yourself, about avoiding failure, you have more energy, more attention to give to others, to your community, the world at large. You become more effective in whatever you choose to do because you're no longer held back by fear. But let's be clear, acting like you're already winning is not a one-time achievement. It's not like you have some epiphany and then you're done. It's an ongoing practice, a moment-by-moment choice to align yourself with your true nature as boundless, complete awareness. There will be times when you forget, when you get caught up in the drama of life and feel like you're losing. And that's okay. The key is to notice when this happens, to gently remind yourself of the truth of your being, and to choose again to act from that place of inner abundance and strength. As you continue this practice, you'll find that it becomes more and more natural. You'll find yourself responding to life's challenges with greater ease, greater flexibility, greater creativity. You'll find yourself taking more risks, expressing yourself more fully, loving more deeply. And here's the really amazing thing: as you learn to act like you're already winning, you inspire others to do the same. Your unshakable presence, your fearless engagement with life becomes a beacon for others. Without even trying, you show others what's possible when we let go of our fear of losing and embrace our true, already complete nature. So, my friends, I encourage you to take this idea and run with it. Experiment with it in your daily life. The next time you face a challenge, big or small, remind yourself, I am already whole and complete. I am already winning in the deepest. Notice how this shift in perspective changes your response to the situation. Practice stepping back from your thoughts and emotions, observing them with curiosity rather than getting caught up in them. Notice how much of your sense of winning or losing comes from your own mind, your own judgments, and how you can choose to interpret events differently. Explore what becomes possible in your life when you're longer held back by fear of losing or not being enough. What dreams would you pursue? What truths would you speak? What love would you express? How would you show up differently in your relationships, your work, your creative endeavors? Remember, acting like you're already winning doesn't mean you'll never face challenges or experience difficult emotions. It means you'll face these experiences from a place of inner abundance, knowing that no matter what happens, your essential self remains whole and complete. As you go forth from here, carrying this understanding with you, I invite you to see each moment, each interaction, each challenge as an opportunity to practice this way of being. Let every experience be a reminder of your true nature as boundless, complete awareness. And above all, remember this: you are not your achievements, not your possessions, not your circumstances. You are the vast, open awareness in which all these experiences arise and subside. And this awareness, your true self, is always whole, always complete, always winning in the deepest sense. So go forth, my friends, and live from this truth. Act like you're already winning, because in the deepest sense, this is the reality of your being. Embrace life fully, love deeply, create boldly, knowing that your essential nature is beyond winning or losing. In doing so, you not only transform your own life, but you contribute to the awakening of consciousness in our world. Thank you for your attention, for your willingness to explore these ideas. May you go forth from here empowered, inspired, and aligned with the truth of your being. The power is within you. The choice is yours. Now is the time to act like you're already winning, and watch as your world transforms before your very eyes.